Getting started with a new Bubble application is simple. Once you've created a Bubble account with an email address and password, you can head over to the Apps tab of your home page. If you don't see the screen, you can also go to the menu in the upper right corner and click on My Apps. That will take you here as well. This is where you can manage all of the applications you've created within your account. So you can create as many apps as you'd like. But remember, every individual app will be tied to its own plan. You can learn about all the different plan options by going to Bubble's pricing page up here in the menu at the top. So that will compare all of them. It will list out all of the features and also the costs for those. So for example, we have 3 apps that we're looking at right now within our account. One of our apps is on the free plan. Another one of our apps is on one of the paid plans. This is actually a legacy plan, but this is a paid plan here. And then we also have another app on the legacy version of the free plan. We've obviously been around for a long time, so we've seen some evolution here with their pricing options. But again, if you go to the pricing page, you'll see the most updated information and what your choices are there. You also have some tools here if you're going to be a power user and create many applications to search through and tag your applications to make things easy to find. What I'd like to do next is go through the process of creating a brand new app from scratch so you can see what to expect and do a quick overview of the editor interface so that you're oriented. But keep in mind that we'll also be going through a more detailed overview of every aspect of the editor in the next few videos. I'm going to click on this Create an App button over here to get started, and Bubble is going to ask me a few questions about my new application. So let's give our app name, let's say Fast Track Experience, like this. Now notice what happened over here on the right. Bubble is giving me a default URL with this name, and this is really an internal ID for your application. So right out of the gate, you will be able to preview and test your application on this domain here, this Bubble hosted domain. By default, when you create your new app, it's going to be on the free plan. Only when you upgrade to one of the paid plans will you be able to connect your app to a custom domain. So wherever you purchase your domain from, whether it's Google Domains, Bluehost, GoDaddy, all of those places, there will be an area in your Bubble editor settings to connect that custom domain to this application. So it doesn't really matter what the name of the application is. Your users aren't going to be aware of it, your live users, because this will not be visible to them. They will see instead your custom domain. So just be mindful of that. This is also not something that you can change, but again, it's not really going to impact you in any way. Okay, now I'm going to answer a couple of other questions. What kind of app are you building? We're going to choose other. I'll leave the optional field blank. I'll say that this is an internal app and that my goal is I'm just playing around. Okay, so I'm going to click on Create a New App, and Bubble is going to generate that new application and take me to the editor for this app for the first time. So we'll let Bubble open all of that up. You can see here the URL. This is the editor URL. You can see that ID right there is my Fast Track Experience. And when things get started here, Bubble's actually going to present me with a couple of assistant steps, some onboarding walkthroughs. I do encourage you to go through these steps so that you can just be oriented with some of the top level details there. Again, we will be going into everything in much more depth in the next few videos, but it's still always good to go through these here. I'm going to go ahead and skip the application assistant just to introduce you to the editor. Again, here with high-level details. So this page that we're on right now is the Design tab. This is your canvas where you're going to design all of the visual elements, the layouts, the appearance of your app's pages. Okay, so you see that this editor is actually broken up into several different tabs here, so you can get to many different aspects of your application. Right, so this is design. This is where you add all of your visual elements to the page. Right, I can grab a button, add it there, and then I can start configuring it. The next tab is workflow. So this is where you create all the logic and basically give Bubble instructions to make things happen. So for example, if I click a button, it's going to create a record in my database or show an alert message or send an email or do a big sequence of actions, right? This is where things can get really powerful. So we'll be diving into this so you can understand how this all comes together. Right now, the page is blank. I don't have any clickable elements. There's really nothing designed on there, so there's not a lot that I can do from here quite yet. The Data tab is where you can manage your app's database. There's actually several sub-tabs within this here because there are many components to your database's architecture. At first, we'll be looking at the data types, in other words, the tables that you'll create in your database, and then all the fields that you'll create within each table. You have some privacy rules around data access. You can really customize who has permission to see or edit your data. App data is where you can actually see the entries, so the actual content that is being created in a spreadsheet-like format here. Option sets are a way for you to create predetermined list of choices, and Bubble's got a nice little video here to introduce you to those as well. We will also definitely be going through those in a later video. And then File Manager is where you can manage all of the uploaded file for your application, whether it's uploaded by you internally or your users are uploading things like images, PDFs, CSVs, I mean, any kind of file really. You do get some built-in storage for your application. You can also add on to your plan to get extra storage if your application is going to be a little bit more file heavy. The Style tab is where you can create basically presets for all of your appearance properties. So if I want my buttons, every time I add a button to the page, to be defaulting to this look, then I can configure those settings there. That way I don't have to, change all of those property configurations every single time I have a button. These presets are really great to keep you efficient in your development, and they actually also help the performance of your app, because Bubble's going off of this library of styles, which is much more efficient to load rather than individual elements with their own independent stylings every single time. Now, of course, you will certainly run into cases where you need to style things independently away from a preset. That's very normal, and you will be doing that, but be mindful of this. You want to take advantage of styles as much as possible. Your plugins area here, this is where you can just add extra functionality, extra elements to your application. There is a very large marketplace of plugins. Most of them are actually published by Bubble users. There are a handful published by Bubble themselves, but this is just going to depend on what your app needs to determine which plugins, if any, you want to install. Your settings page also has a handful of sub-tabs. There's lots of different sections in here that you can look through to configure your application. So some of these might be more internal, some of them might affect your user's front-end experience. So we will have a video that goes into all of these in much more detail. So this is all about settings. You'll notice here under the domain and email, this is where you would connect your app to that custom domain like I was talking about before. And you'll also find that there might be some features that are going to be locked until you upgrade to one of the paid plans. You can manage your plan here under this first tab. It will give you all the information about that, right? I can switch to one of the paid plans here. It'll tell me what I get. And that way you learn what the differences are. The logs are a little bit more of an advanced feature. If you're just getting started, you don't need to worry about this so much, but this will be helpful in the long run, especially once you go live, to understand how your app is performing. This is also a really great troubleshooting tool as well. In case you ever run into any performance bottlenecks, this can help you pinpoint what those issues are. This is also broken up into some sub-tabs so that you can get more information about what's going on with back-end workflows, which is, again, a more advanced capability, but you may end up using those things, as well as any scheduled workflows, which is another paid feature that you can take advantage of. All right. Now, notice that with every single tab here, we may have some changes in this top toolbar, just depending on what screen you are. So, for example, if we're on the design canvas here, I can search for different elements on my page. Let me add a couple of things here. I'm going to add a button, a link. Right, and so those will show up there, and I can start searching for those. Over time, you will have many elements added to the screen, and so this search capability is super helpful to stay efficient. You also have a handful of other settings for organizing your design canvas, for snapping things properly, just to help make your layout design easier, different distribution and arrangement tools. Okay, so again, as we go through in more detail in next videos for each of these tabs, we'll talk about all the different capabilities and tools available to you. But that's just getting started, all right? So if you haven't gone ahead and created your brand new application, go ahead and do that so that you can get your hands on this and take a look around, get comfortable with all these different sections so you know where to go when you're looking for something specific. All right, we'll see you in the next video.